Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cartoon Time Machine. I'm your animate Scarlet.
I'm Katie.
Katie is also your animate, in case you are feeling left out there, not loved by Katie. Katie, do you love our audience?
I do. I think I love them more than you. I think I've not gotten rid of as many as you have. How many groups have you offended? What's our count at?
We've offended a lot of group. I think the Swedes are still toward the top of the list that we have offended. Pop culture nerds, I think, are still there, and
Anyone who thinks checkers and chess are different games.
yeah, obviously. So yes, I have offended many people, but if you are not in those specific groups, I love you, and if you are, I love you a little less, but I still love you. So, oh God, we're never gonna get any kind of a following with me continuing to burn bridges like this. Anyway, I am very excited because this is our third of four episodes talking about different eras of Cartoon Network and the various shows that were on during that time. And which we're trying to, as we go through this, we're trying to sort of find a defining thread for any given era. And I think this era, which begins in 2010, and I believe it's going to go through 2014, 2015. Is that where we're ending this?
We're gonna go 2010 through 2013. The next one will be 2014 to present.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So yeah. So we're calling this something of a pre-modern era. This is right before we're going to get into the shows that are currently on or have just ended. The shows that sort of make up what the current Cartoon Network lineup is. So this is just prior to that. Unfortunately, this is probably the era. I certainly for me, I can't necessarily speak for Katie that I know the least about because I would have been early high school in this time period, and I was watching less Cartoon Network. And some of these shows that went on through later years, I got into much later, but I wasn't initially watching at this time. So it'll be interesting for us to go through and see what was on. Katie, do you have any expectations for how you think this era is going to stack up to the other three eras that we are going to talk about?
This will probably be the weakest one. I think this tends to be the weakest, depending on how you view the time frames with the past one. So, I had a younger sibling, so I did watch more of this era because he was not at high school yet.
And I'm the baby of the family, so I did not have a small child who would encourage me to watch more Cartoon Network. So I imagine Katie's going to be much more knowledgeable. So
Finally.
speaking of Katie being the knowledgeable one, Katie, what is the first show that we want to talk about from this era?
So, to revamp people from last time, we finished the nudes little statue things from our last
So just to clarify, those were
branding.
the bumps were
The
the
bump.
statue little thing.
Yeah, now we have moved to the Check It bump, which lasts from 2010 to 2016, but it's kind of divided into four eras of rebranding itself a little bit each time, with the
Check it.
yeah
Yeah.
era being one of them. But we will barely talk about that. But we're gonna do, I think, 1, 2, 3, and 3.5 gets us through the pre modern era, as we're calling it.
All right.
So we'll start in Check It 1. Um, shows, we have a lot of shows that are still from the same time, or still showing from the last one. Like Destroy, Build, Destroy, our friend of in the live action Cartoon Network, which is why you can debate this era or the previous one as being the worst, because no one likes live action Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why who at Cartoon Network thought that was such a great idea that that was how they should compete with Nickelodeon and Disney Channels to be more live action. I mean, it's in the name, guys. You're the Cartoon Network. The cartoons.
So we have that continuing, as well as Dude, What Would Happen?
Oh, baby Mythbusters.
Baby Mythbusters. And then we have Hero 108 ending in 2012. Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated finishes its run in 2013, and I need to watch it because everyone loves it for some reason.
It's so surprisingly good. Oh my god. There was no one needed to do anything half decent for a Scooby Doo series, and everyone decided to go as hard as possible. Like I think I talked about it enough last week, so I won't go into it again. But like if you think you don't like Scooby-Doo, you'll actually probably really like the show. Like people who love Scooby-Doo, I imagine, I haven't really met anyone who's like ride or die Scooby-Doo, but I would imagine people who loved original Scooby-Doo are pretty meh on Mystery Incorporated because it vibe is totally different. It's a great show. Just watch it.
I would like to add.
Stop listening to us and go watch Mystery Incorporated.
I'd like to add the anecdote of I texted Scarlett the other day trying to get her to give me a show suggestion because I was bored and wanted to binge something, and she did not suggest Mystery Incorporated, sadly.
Well, I thought that was kind of a given, you know? I mean, I've talked about it enough, God. We have to talk about Fred and his traps, aka the greatest love story of our time. Man loves traps, Katie.
That's fair. Then we have A Natural History, a live-action show premiering in 2010 in June.
I remember seeing ads for that like on the back of my Archie comics. Like, if that gives you any idea of the core demographic they were going after for the show, it was like a kid going into like a spooky museum or something.
It's probably playing off the Night at the Museum. Was that around this time? Was that around 2010?
I want to say it was around that time. I can't say for certain, but at least the ads always had a really strong Night at the Museum kind of vibe.
Well, unfortunately, their marketing campaign worked very poorly because it ended in September of 2010. It lasted 4 months.
Eep. Not great.
Wait, not even 4. It lasted 3 months.
All right, so that's like 10 episodes, maybe.
Yep. Then we have Total Drama World Tour, one of our many Canadian total dramas. Lasting, again, about 4 months. From June of 2010 to November of 2010.
I remember when Total Drama World Tour was announced. I think that was the first time they rebranded it. And I remember thinking, like, wait, is this just the same show with a different name? Which I get the sense that along with every other Total Drama show that came after it, I think they were all basically just the same show. Mostly the same characters from the looks of it. Just
I think so.
Again and again.
I watched it more than I should have, but
I can't remember it being bad necessarily. I remember watching it and being like, okay, I don't like the art style, and I don't really care about these characters, and I'm kind of aging out of this area anyway, even though I think this was meant for people more, you know, late middle school, early high school like I was, and I just had no interest.
I think I watched it because it was often on in that time frame where you got home from school and didn't want to do homework yet. Or when you're me and you probably were at this point still doing most of your homework in school. So you had those like 2 hours of don't annoy your parents time or your parents aren't home. I think this and 16 were both on around that time.
So you didn't live in a household where there was no TV till 5 p.m. then?
No, I didn't.
All right, so this might be why I missed out on some shows of this era, because if I came home from school, whether I had homework or not, I had to do something constructive with my time until the hour before dinner. The hour before dinner was TV time, and I had to split it with 2 older sisters. I know how many people are in my own family. I think I just invented a third sister who was also stealing my TV time, but I think that person was just like the dark version of me who like always wanted to watch the weirdest shows on Cartoon Network, and then like the rational part of my brain is like, no, you don't want to watch that right now. You want to watch something good. So that was who I was. I was competing with 2 sisters and my own inhibitions, basically.
Well, the next show that we can talk about is 16, the sibling of Total Drama from the same Canadian group, I believe. Ended in June of 2010. Adventure Time is still beginning at this stage.
It's always Adventure Time. Every time is Adventure Time.
Well, now Adventure Time will be a talking point of every era. So
there's like the Adventure Time Obsidian on HBO Max. That show will never end.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We're not in the modern era.
We're not in the modern era.
The next show on the list is a show that I think we will come back to more so. That's very important to, along with Adventure Time, to defining the next era of Cartoon Network and the style they want to do, as well as getting some people into Cartoon Network, is Regular Show.
Yeah, that was a show. That was Rebecca Sugar, right? Wasn't Rebecca Sugar on that?
I believe.
Adventure Time and Steven Universe?
I believe Rebecca Sugar might have spent some time on it the guy who wrote Infinity Train was a writer on Regular Show as well. Regular Show got a lot of writers into Cartoon Network for that. I wouldn't even say middle schooler. Like, Regular Show at first seemed to be more for middle schoolers, but it started as it went on, taking on some more themes similar to probably a lot of shows in the era, like Adventure Time as it gone on got heavier themes. Gumball even has some heavy themes in it. Steven Universe has heavy themes. Cartoon Network got this big thing of just, what if we make a show that seems like it's for middle schoolers, but we make it for everyone, including adults?
I think when I didn't really watch much Regular Show, so I'm going to rely on Katie to talk more about what it's about. But I remember having the feeling that it was like somewhere between a regular Cartoon Network show and Adult Swim. I think this was kind of an era of merging merging those two areas is shows that, and I think Gumball's in that category too. I think Gumball was originally pitched as an Adult Swim show, but they then just like toned down some of the jokes and turned it into Cartoon Network, just with the unique art style that both of them had. They didn't, neither Gumball nor Regular Show looks like other shows on Cartoon Network. I think Uncle Grandpa too. I don't know if when that started, but that also was one of those shows that I think was, seemed Adult Swim-esque. Like, it had the same style of comedy, except just they wrote. It's almost as if they wrote an Adult Swim show and then they like went in and wiped out any joke that's like above PG-13.
Yeah, so I think we have this core cluster for Cartoon Network emerging again out of the remnants of terrible shows that they were running at this time. Yeah, I remember watching Regular Show. If we were still talking about our Cartoon Network wants young men to be their prime audience, Regular Show does have a dude vibe. Like, it's heavy, like, dude themed. Most of the characters are male. There's a lot going on there. But also it goes so off the rails at so many times. It's an interesting show. Didn't always capture my attention, but I watched it enough.
Yeah, I think even the color palette was just it was off-putting to me, I think, as a girl who at that point was more interested in slightly girlier shows than I had been in my youth. It had that very flat kind of neutral color palette and the characters were not designed to be terribly cute and appealing. They didn't have big eyes, kind of the way that like something like Chowder did, with all very cute animals that a girl might want to like hug and buy a plush of. I kind of doubt any Regular Show plushes exist. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how popular they are. So I definitely got that vibe that was part of the let's lean more towards slightly older boys, like 9 to 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, now I might be misremembering things, but I feel like at some point it got, Gravity Falls weird vibes. It was kind of similar to Gravity Falls weird in like space, time, everything's funky.
I've heard strong comparisons to Rick and Morty over the years. Do you think there's some comparison there?
Probably. I have seen no Rick and Morty, not my jam, but I can see that Rick and Morty would be the adult version that's taking Regular Show's kind of concept further.
I mean, what's funny, and we're not talking about Adult Swim, at least not today, so I won't go too deeply into any Rick and Morty conversation. I haven't watched many episodes. I was honestly kind of put off by most of the adult humor. But I think it sort of exists on that same spectrum with like Regular Show and Gumball. It's like if Regular Show and Gumball were Adult Swim shows that were slightly sanitized to go on Cartoon Network, Rick and Morty feels like a Cartoon Network show that they threw in some possibly unnecessary for the plot adult jokes to push it over the edge into Adult Swim. Like, I could totally see a world where, like, an alternate universe where Regular Show was Adult Swim and Rick and Morty was on Cartoon Network, just by virtue of adding or removing a handful of jokes.
Mm-hmm. So Regular Show will come back, because it lasts for a while. The next show that premieres is Mad. I remember watching a little bit of Mad, but it was not a show to move to cartoon format. The magazines were better. Stick Stick to that medium.
It
Mad.
was Mad Magazine related.
Yeah, it was Mad Magazine, got a show on Cartoon Network. And I just don't think it ever transpired well into this form of media.
See, that's a shame because I feel like Mad Magazine, it is mostly cartoons to begin with. It's nothing but comics. It's nothing but weird characters, funky scenarios. I hope that they try that again one day because I'd be very interested to see the kind of absurdist show they could do. I think it would work very well for a Gen Z audience who are all very nihilistic and our humor is so Dadaist at this point that the absurdity of a Mad Magazine comic, I think, might do very well in that demographic. So
I'd have to check.
I never watched it, but maybe I should give it a look and see if it would have lived up to my expectations from the magazine.
Now, I could be misremembering, and I'll check the ratings after all. It did end up getting 4 seasons and 103 episodes, so it might have done better in other demographics.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, and again, just because even if the two of us never watched it, that shouldn't necessarily mean that it was a bad show. This, I think, was just a time period for both of us where we were watching the least cartoons. So, it might be good.
Yeah, I didn't remember thinking it to be a very good overall series, but it might have been that it was just out of my comedy at that point.
Right.
If you cannot tell, I'm currently looking up the stats.
Sorry?
I'm currently looking up the ratings.
I was going to say that, if it could be also that if you were in that period between middle school and high school where you were taking life very seriously and trying to be an adult, like more childish humor, I think in that time period always settled badly on me just because I was trying to be cool.
It does have a 5.8 on IMDb, so mixed opinions on the show.
Okay, all right.
Which feels correct to my memory.
All right, that's valid. I mean, you guys should check it out. I don't know. I feel like nothing can quite capture the giddiness of reading a Mad Magazine on the bus to school and just hoping someone will look over your shoulder and see something like really weird and gross and be like, "Ooh, wow, you're so cool to be reading something so mature."
So we getting a glimpse into Scarlett's childhood and her traumas from her childhood.
Not traumas.
Now we don't have enough time to unpack all of that.
What?
Now we don't have enough time to unpack all of that. So let's move on to the next one. We have Robotomy, a show I do not remember, that ran 3 months.
What was the name of the show again?
Robotomy. It might just be the anatomy of robots. I don't know.
Or like a robo-lobotomy? I don't know. Okay. Sounds like it wouldn't have appealed to me at all.
It was an animated television series created by Michael Buckley and Joe Deasy. And none of this is telling me anything. Kate McKinnon was in it.
What? Oh wow, that would have been like, she would have like just gone on SNL.
And Patton Oswalt.
That's a cast.
Yeah. It only got 10 episodes.
Oh.
Cartoon Network didn't acknowledge Robotomy until 2018.
Wait, they didn't acknowledge it? What, is it bastard child? How does that work?
What
How do
is
you not acknowledge
happening?
your own shows?
They can all be viewed on Netflix still, apparently.
Wait, did it not air on Cartoon Network? Is that how they got away with not acknowledging it?
It's Cartoon Network's shortest running original series
Oh.
with the least number of episodes. And it was officially removed from the Cartoon Network's website on February 11th of 2010, just after it was canceled.
Okay, so we need to do an episode on whatever this show was and why it was bad enough that Cartoon Network tried to pull a Jedi mind trick on everyone and be like, there was never a show here. You don't remember Robotomy.
Here, I will read us the plot summary real quick. Thrasher and Blastus are two outsider robots
Already hate it.
that live on the planet of Insinus, originally called Killglobe. Insinus is a planet inhabited by murderous robots who seek to kill one another for no apparent reason. Slightly less horrific than their peers, the duo seek to make it through high school and navigate their lives with varying degrees of success. While Thrasher wishes to gain
plots.
while Thrasher wishes to gain the affections of an attractive female robot named maybe Blastus just wants to be recognized as popular.
Okay, quick sidebar. Like, I know this is a thing in animation, but why the hell are there female and male robots? They are cars. They are not human. Why do they have genders? That's like, does it have boobs? Does it have robo boobs? I'm sure it has robo boobs. Otherwise, how would you know it's a female robot? This is dumb. My soapbox for everyone for today.
It may not be on Netflix anymore, sadly.
Well, we'll find some way to watch the series and get back to you, listeners, because what the hell?
Yeah, that sounds also like a show that was pitched for Adult Swim and did not make the cut for Adult Swim, and they were told, make it PG-13, and they went, that's gonna be tough.
Right,
it's gonna be real tough.
That does kind of sound like it would be, like, not even like a full, like, episode. It sounds like it would be a short series that would be on Adult Swim, like, kind of like Robot Chicken style. Like, you would just, like, it would be like, and now, Robotomy, and you'd have some robots beating the crap out of each other, and then it'd be like, this has been an episode of Robotomy. Like, that sounds like what it was originally designed to be. And, right, maybe it was like the opposite. It was someone had real faith into that Cartoon Network and said, no, this concept of robots who murder each other for no reason, but also go to high school and also have a female robot love interest. This has to be a full series. I give you my full support. And then that executive, I guess, backed out when it came time to give it more than 10 episodes.
I know. The next show to premiere was Symbionic Titan, premiered in September of 2010 and ended in April of 2011. A lot of short-lived series. They were trying a lot of stuff and never finding something that worked, apparently.
Why do I feel like I did see some episodes of Symbiotic Titan, and or maybe I'm thinking of Generator Rex. I feel like I got those two confused. I think they had similar art styles.
Well, this is a Genndy Tartakovsky, kind of maybe similar to Samurai Jack look.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different show then. What was this one?
Well, let's see. Where's the plot? Oh, look! Bills is an exciting hybrid of high school drama and giant robot battles.
Jesus Christ, guys. Cartoon Network, how did you have so many very similar shows running at the same time?
One of the main characters was a princess of a royal family. One was a rebellious but capable soldier. The other was a bio-cybernetic robot. Who all lived their everyday lives in Sherman, Illinois.
Sherman. Was the princess a robot, or is the princess not a robot? The only robot.
The princess is not a robot.
Okay, can I just say that I will take back everything I've ever said about how stupid female robots are if we could just get, like, a cyborg princess story? Can we do that, please? That sounds great.
Shockingly, as most Genndy Tartakovsky things, it was canceled and has a big cult following. Our people are like, bring it back.
All right, I wish them luck. Maybe that's another thing we gotta revisit.
Who knows?
Who knows? All right, what's next?
Next is Tower Prep. Lasted from October 2010 to December of 2010.
That was also live action, wasn't it?
Yep.
Again, I also saw the back of my Archie comics back in the day.
Replaced Unnatural History.
Oh my god.
This kind of sounds like a CW show attempt.
Yeah, wasn't it like high schoolers, but they go to like a medieval knight type high school?
I cannot tell you because there is no information on the wiki. All I can tell you is the character Ian Archer's special ability was Preflex. Another's was Detect Feelings. Another was Hypersuasion. Another was Mimicry.
Okay, so those mostly all sound like D&D spells, but like if they were recited by my dad who had his ear pressed to my door while I'm playing D&D trying to figure out what it is I'm doing.
I don't even know what one of these is.
Detect Feelings.
Oh, they spelled it wrong. It's supposed to be Hypersuasion. They spelled.
Is that just being really persuasive?
Yeah. So, kind of like. Oh no, I'm forgetting her name.
Hyper-persuasion, you dumbasses. Hyper-persuasion is just when you're really, really stoned and you decide you want to convince your buddies that this Cartoon Network show is better than the other. That's high-persuasion.
So, another short-lived live-action thing. And unfortunately, for the next one, we are going to listen to Scarlet tirade at us for several minutes, most certainly. because Young Justice has finally premiered on Cartoon Network.
Yes. Oh my god, I love Young Justice. Young Justice was not the successor to Teen Titans that we wanted, but it was the one we needed, and I think it was such an excellent bridge for all of us kids who grew up watching like the original Justice League cartoon and Teen Titans, those more goofy, lighthearted ones. And then there was Young Justice, which, ironically, despite having young in the title, is the more adult of the series. And basically said, yep, welcome. You are mature enough to take on some more adult content. Here are basically some comic book plots. Enjoy. If you want to learn more, visit your local library, check out some comic books. And it lasted 2 glorious seasons until it was canceled because too many girls were watching. And the toy sponsor pulled out because the girls, in their mind, wouldn't buy the action figures. And with the toy sponsor out, Cartoon Network canceled it until its dramatic return 2 years ago, I want to say. It's on HBO Max now. It's great. It's still great. If you watched it back in the day and haven't checked out newer seasons yet, you should do it because they're good and it's great. And I'm very happy to see more Young Justice. It's a good show. Maybe that wasn't as long a rant as you wanted, but you can't. I'm mad at Cartoon Network. I'm mad at, I think it was Hasbro pulled out. You know, it's always a shame when girls are punished for liking things that are traditionally male. But I think the world is changing. I think that sort of thing could never happen today. I think Cartoon Network and other kids shows, kids networks are realizing that the old rules about demographics no longer apply, if they ever did. I think they were manufactured from the start, and that if you have good quality shows, girls will watch, boys will watch, it doesn't matter. So, you know, Young Justice was a sad example of what can happen when networks rely too hard on demographic preconceptions, but I think that it's good to know that that sort of thing probably won't happen again. And if it does, we know people will be very pissed about it. Fun fact about Young Justice, too, is that I once broke the news of it being canceled to one of my high school friends' younger sisters, and apparently her sister had been rationing out the episodes so that she wouldn't realize that the series had been canceled until she could figure out a way to explain that to her younger sister. I innocently said, oh, you know, I hear you really like Young Justice. Are you sad the series got canceled? And the little sister bawled for the rest of the sleepover, and it was a very awkward time for me and my friend. I don't believe I was invited back over to her house after that point. Whoops. Sorry, kid. I hope you adjusted well. I don't think I've seen you since then. I hope you're normal and I didn't ruin your entire life. I hope you're not still sitting in therapy saying, that Scarlet, she ruined Young Justice for me and then my life, and I had to resort to a life of crime just to get myself to feel things again. Sorry if that happened to you. I really am.
At some point, Netflix debated taking Young Justice and renewing it. If you ever want to deep dive, Young Justice Wiki has a lot going on.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people like me out there who are just very invested in not just the series, but the meta narrative, all the things going on behind the scenes, because it is genuinely more interesting. As great as the show is, the stuff going on behind the scenes is fascinating. I seem to recall the Netflix thing. I think the creators were pushing it hard to Netflix when the series first got canceled, because that was about the time when Netflix was starting to rise in popularity and starting to host original shows instead of just being a place where you could throw your old movies that you weren't getting money for anywhere else. I seem to recall hoping and thinking, oh my God, Young Justice might be on Netflix. I think it was on Netflix for a brief period of time.
They were playing the 2 seasons were on Netflix. That's where they went. And the writers sicked the cult fan club on Netflix, which is probably a bad idea. It's never a great idea.
To stick your face on things, yeah. It's usually not great. I can't think of an example in the past week that would be an example of that in the real world not going well.
That does not come on this podcast. In 2017, DC Comics did announce that a 3rd season would be titled Young Justice Outsiders and released in 2018. It did not release in 2018. It released in 2019. And I believe is on HBO Max. Because originally it was just to be on the upcoming DC branded digital service, which I think just became HBO Max.
Yeah, I don't we have friends who might be more knowledgeable about exactly what's happening to that DC Universe service, but I think they realize that's just asking people too much. Just have it on HBO Max. It's expensive enough. There's nothing good on it now.
That's where Cartoon Network is.
Okay, I meant to say like in terms of like their originals. I don't know what kind of HBO Max originals other than the new season of Young Justice.
I'm struggling to define what's an HBO original versus HBO Max original versus other things, but it's also where you can easily stream all of HBO's stuff, so I got a lot to watch.
The new season of Infinity Train, I think, is considered just an HBO Max original because
Cartoon
Network probably took one look at that third season and said, "Oh, we cannot put this on our channel next to Teen Titans Go, or some small child is going to kill themselves."
We're getting ahead of ourselves by many years.
By many
so the next
years.
show to premiere is Almost Naked Animals.
Yeah, I kept seeing ads for that. I never wanted to find out what that was.
It has a terrible title. Let's all admit. Almost Naked Animals, bad title. I think it had kind of that old reminiscent animation style of, you know what I'm thinking, like Ren and Stimpy, that kind of stuff, I want to say.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, I remember this. They were all kind of naked and hairy, and there was a duck who reminds me of a certain friend of ours. I think a naked duck in underwear wouldn't remind me of them. I watched several episodes of the show, and clearly I've blocked it out of my memory.
I'll look up a picture of this thing. I'm pretty sure I was a squeamish kid, and the word naked would have kept me from watching almost
This
everything.
poodle has triangle boobs. But not even, they're just kind of giant nipples.
Oh, you know what the animation style actually kind of reminds me of? It kind of looks like fish hooks. Like, I wonder if Alex Hirsch was involved with this, because this looks like the same style he was using on fish hooks. Yep, it was created by Noah Z. Jones, who's also the creator of the Disney Channel animated series Fish Hooks.
As soon as you said it, yeah. Yeah, it's a bunch of animals who have shaved off their fur.
It's a 3 out of 10 on IMDb.
They've shaved off their fur. They wear only underclothes. And it's weird, and the genre is surrealism, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah, not a
weird.
huge fan. Yeah, the art style just like it looks unpleasant. I don't like to see shaved animals. I don't want to see animal nipples or belly buttons.
I will suggest everyone look up what a shaved bear looks like. Not a person. Shaved bear, the animal. It's interesting. Creepy. So if you're easily scared and haunted in your nightmares, don't. But if you have morbid curiosity, it's a very interesting thing to know.
Yeah, I've looked those up. They apparently use them frequently in freak shows in like the late 19th century because they would like put them in a dress and claim they were like horribly deformed women.
Well, that made this worse.
Yeah, it's not great. Just don't shave bears, kids. Unless there's like a medical reason that you need to, shave a bear to perform surgery or something.
So the next show,
bears unless you're a vet. I think that's a good stance for our podcast to have.
Yes. The next show is The Problem Solvers, originally titled Neon Gnome? No, I'm going to say Neon Gnome. Spelled with a K. Knome. I'm going to pronounce that Gnome.
Yep, nope. I don't know what that show is.
I don't either.
Huh.
So now we are definitely seeing that we watched some Cartoon Network and some things we haven't. It was rejected by Cartoon Network's late night programming, Adult Swim, for looking too cute.
Huh. That makes sense.
So it's in this little section we got going of...
Yeah. The weird cuspers between Cartoon Network and Adult Swim.
Yeah. So that premiered in 2011. Then we have the continuation of Generated Rest, Johnny Test, Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, Star Wars The Clone Wars, not Star Wars Clone Wars. That came earlier. You know what I'm angry about.
Yeah, a lot of these action shows, is what you're saying, had some serious holdover.
The Superhero Squad show. Did we talk about that?
We did talk about that last week. They're fun.
Ah, yes.
This little chibi Marvel kids.
Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Fun, always fun.
Chowder ended in 2010. Flapjack ended in 2010. And then we have The Amazing World of Gumball, premiered in May of 2011. We talked about it a little bit.
I like Gumball. I think it's cute. I think it's hard to watch a lot of at once, at least for me. But it's cute. It's funny. It's wacky. I love the art style. They have not even photorealistic. They use like real live action photos for their backgrounds against their really cartoonish bodies, which is a lot of fun. There's some great gags, a lot of fun surrealism. I don't know. You watched it too, Katie, right?
I did. I probably watched more of the beginning of it before it got the usual Cartoon Network, like, first season's like okay, and then if you keep going you're like, wow, what? So I think I mostly watched the first season, and I've seen clips from later stuff where it got more surreal, more what I should have probably watched, because that's my area. I love surreal cartoons.
It's
but
really fun.
I enjoyed the gags they had in it. It was really well written comedy. And again, the art style in there with the super unique Cartoon Network stuff. That's something that Cartoon Network, I think, has on any other cartoon channel, is they are always trying new cartoon styles and are not afraid to try something weird.
Absolutely. I mean, I think even on on other channels, shows have their own styles certainly, but like a lot of the humans will kind of look similar, animals will look similar. Sometimes a certain creator will have their own flair, but you can sort of still tell like, oh, that's a Disney Channel show, like, oh, that's a Nickelodeon show. Shows on Cartoon Network, I mean, the only reason you can tell they're a Cartoon Network show is because it's such a strange art style for each new show that really, I mean, even the ones that look the most similar, like something like Adventure Time and Steven Universe, they're not the same looking show. You couldn't plop one character from one universe into another and have it be seamless.
Yeah, and I think in this core section of like, there's all these action shows for boys, and they're trying out this weird live action thing, and there's core classic kind of wild Cartoon Network, where it's not like Nickelodeon's all computer animated, very clear computer animated backgrounds, characters, all clean.
Very clean.
These core shows of Cartoon Network during this time that are getting Cartoon Network through this weird phase they're going through, trying alternate forms also. So you have Flapjack that had a lot of additions into, rather than just computer animated, you had some claymation, you had some sets, you have Gumball with its photorealistic backgrounds. Chowder had that felted stuff, more claymation. So you have all these shows trying different things.
Right.
That aren't just different styles of drawing characters, just like different mediums at that.
Yeah, and that would continue. I know Teen Titans Go later on had a puppet episode. Later, Adventure Time had an entirely stop motion episode. So that definitely seems like a philosophy in most periods of Cartoon Network is if they see an opportunity to utilize a different medium, they will try to go for it, which I think is great.
Yeah, and I can't think of a lot of other shows outside of Cartoon Network that do that. The only one that comes to mind is Gravity Falls has one episode that does that.
Right, one segment of one episode.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And I take that back. SpongeBob has done that occasionally, but it was in the earlier seasons.
Right.
They would do more live action with Patchy, which was completely separate. I hate Patchy now. I can't stand Patchy as an adult. But also like the
new Patchy. I loved old Patchy.
But I can think of they did some weird claymation stuff for a couple Christmas episodes. And they did the episode they went on land, and they're just their actual world counterparts. And that has one of my favorite quotes. "Get away, you rats with wings," which I say every time I see seagulls in real life.
They are rats with wings. Yeah, so Gumball's a good show. I think that was also a good return to form for shows that worked for girls and boys. The color scheme is appealing to girls. There's the Gumball himself is a boy and his best friend is a boy, but his sister is really fun and charming and clever, and his mom is a lot of fun. She's She's this great, overworked, busy mom, and her husband's, a Homer Simpson type idiot. But it's always a fun dynamic to see. Yeah, I think Gumball's a really good show. I'm glad that was one of the few shows I actually watched during this era.
The next premiere is the Looney Tunes show, which is just in that series that Cartoon Network was trying to revive some of its old classics with updated animated animation styles, which I watched them. I don't like updated animation. I'd much rather watch the old classic cell shades.
It looked too clean. I'm with you. I don't like that clean animation look. It wasn't able to have some of those rough edges in those early Looney Tunes cartoons were part of what made it so funny. I remember I didn't like Lola Bunny. I don't think I've ever liked Lola Bunny in any iteration. I didn't like her in the new Looney Tunes show. I think she really turned me off. I think she was just an annoying character. So take that for what it's worth. I've heard people who actually really like the new Looney Tunes. So
Um, and with that, we end Check It Era 1 and we move to Check It Era 2, or the Yeah era.
oh, I remember that stupid yeah. Oh
I
God.
can't do it very well because I don't have it in my head. It was a nod to the Yes era, shockingly.
Yeah, it was right. It was yes, except now we're cool.
Yeah. So, we still have Adventure Time. Destroy, Build, Destroy ends in 2011. Dude, What Would
Oh,
Happen
that,
ends in
that.
2011.
Those two shows lasted a while.
They did.
Wow.
Superhero Squad Show ends in 2011. Bratman the Brave and the Bold ends in 2011. Ben 10 Ultimate Alien ends in 2012. And the High Fructose Adventures of Annoying Orange premieres in 2012.
Can we all take a moment and thank the whatever gods there are that the phase of out of touch executives thinking that everything popular on YouTube needs its own TV series slash movie is over. Like there was Fred and there was Smosh and all those things that were really funny to us when we were young and when we didn't know, like when we were just so enthralled with the idea of a series on YouTube that we could consume in small bits that was random and weird was just the greatest thing ever. I mean, I guess TikTok has kind of supplanted that need now, but I never really liked Annoying Orange that much as a kid. I thought it was kind of funny. I think I probably had like a few solid months where I was really into it, and then I was like, wait, this is the same joke, and I am bored now.
Yeah, I was
Anime
never
for
in to that area of YouTube. And frankly, YouTube has also gotten out of this like web series age.
ugh,
Of like poorly produced web series of like one stop jokes over and over again. Now we have some better produced stuff that stay on YouTube.
hats.
Hmm?
There was llamas with hats, Katie.
Well, that's a different thing.
I love llamas with hats.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
never watched it. Couldn't stand it. Avoided it at all costs.
I seem to recall watching one episode and my only takeaway being that there was a character in the YouTube series called Midget Apple, which was never a funny joke. They acknowledged it on the show that it was a slur. It's currently a slur. It's never been okay. And I think they did rename the character on the show. So I forget if they just called it Little Apple or they called it just regular Apple. I do remember noting that and being old enough to recognize, like, you can say things on YouTube that you cannot say on a cartoon show aimed for small children who will repeat a slur.
Uh, Next we have Thundercats premiering in 2011 and ending in 2012.
I was never a Thundercats kid. I know people who are ride or die Thundercats, so
I enjoyed the revamp. I enjoyed it. It still stuck with some of the styles of the 80s cartoon. It didn't change as much as you could say She-Ra changed from kind of the He-Man She-Ra of the 80s. That's like a big change. This didn't go that far.
so did you watch the original 80s series?
Not that much.
80s because you're older.
Not that much. I probably did see episodes here or there through reruns and stuff, but not really. But I enjoyed watching Thundercats. I think it fed into my Warrior Cats obsession from my childhood.
Yeah.
That's
I was other two.
really, if you want to know anything about what a person is and now in their adulthood, find out if they read Warrior Cats or Maximum Ride or if they were a Harry Potter kid. Like, you'll learn a lot about our generation that way.
Yeah, I think right. I think there's definitely which YA novel were you most obsessed with as a kid, and I think that absolutely defines who you became. I guarantee you,
Absolutely.
all the Goosebumps kids are crazy emo now. Don't try
Yeah.
to deny it, Katie.
What?
Don't try to deny it.
No, it was thinking to the one person I think I know who liked Goosebumps and going, "Yep, that checks out."
Valid, valid.
Next we have Hero 108 ending in 2012. Incredible Crew premieres in 2012 and ends in 2013.
I don't know what that is.
Off the top of my head, neither do I. Wow. It was a sketch comedy television series created and produced by Nick Cannon.
Okay, doesn't seem like it should really be on Cartoon Network, but all right.
Yeah, it looks like another one of their live action shows that last one season. Next, we have Level Up, premiered in 2012 and ended in 2013.
Is that a game show? Sounds like a game show.
Sounds like a game show. Live action television series based off a film of the same series, or same name. It was fantasy, comedy, sci-fi, adventure.
That's a lot of things in one.
Yep.
All right.
Didn't watch that. As you can tell, we're not fans of the live action Cartoon Network, like most people. Generator Rex ended in 2013. Regular show is still going strong. Mad still going strong. Johnny Test still going strong. Lasted a while. Star Wars. Clone Wars? I think this is Star Wars The Clone Wars, and they messed that up. Because that should end on Cartoon Network in 2013, then move to Netflix in 2014, and then scoot its butt back over to Disney Plus currently.
Oh, Clone Wars, you have traveled over many galaxies.
This also says Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated ended in 2013, but I thought we already talked about that ending, so clearly this website had a couple goofs right now.
Maybe.
Gumball's going strong. Looney Tunes show is going strong. This is when Young Justice disappears into the ether to be moved to DC Universe in a few years. By a few, I mean many.
Sid.
Secret Mountain Fort Awesome premiered in 2011 and ended in 2012.
That strikes me as another live action show, right?
No, this looks animated.
Huh. Well,
Created by the storyboard artist of Chowder.
oh.
Developed from the idea of a portal unleashing monsters on the world, which was used in It was used in a cartoon short for Uncle Grandpa. Huh. This feels like something we should have seen.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of it.
Yeah, anything in the weird category. We're pretty used to having known. Oh no! Looking at the animation style, I'm now so concerned.
What was it?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! I feel like I remember this mountain.
Okay, now I gotta look this up again.
Oh, and now I remember what Problem Solvers looked like. Oh, these two things were animated so oddly and grossly that I remembered that being a turnoff. This is for small boys who like weird animation.
You know what this is? This is for the wacky packages generation.
I think that's COVID pictured. I think they predicted COVID.
Oh god, this looks awful. Yep, very glad I was not.
One character is just a green pustule with red dots on it with arms. Big burly man arms and claws.
Yeah. Do not like whatever this is. Very glad I never watched it.
Yeah, that's weird. Don't suggest looking that up to our viewers. I'm going to see that in my nightmares.
Yeah, that looks incredibly unpleasant. Kind of interesting that it turned into Uncle Grandpa, though.
Fair.
I mean, I never watched. The only exposure I had to Uncle Grandpa is the Steven Universe crossover, so I don't know.
It didn't premiere. It was used in a short with Uncle Grandpa. It seems like some weird thing. Next up is Green Lantern, the animated series, 2012 to 2013. Also did the poof with Young Justice. Next we have our third or fourth Total Drama spinoff, Total Drama Revenge of the Island.
Oh my god.
Premiered in 2012 and ended 2 months later in 2012.
I mean, I think that was probably intentional. I think these were short-lived miniseries, and they were meant to be. But Jesus Christ, guess.
Next, we have our third or fourth installment of Ben 10, Ben 10 Omniverse.
Is that the one? No, I thought that one's. Oh no, the new one is just called Ben 10. I think they just rebooted it entirely.
Oh, yep, Ben 10 Omniverse is the 4th iteration. We're on number 4, Ben 10.
Unbelievable.
Every time the animation style changes just enough to be new.
Yeah, I guess. Man, all right.
And we gotta keep Cartoon Network for boys going. Next is a show Scarlett will probably want to talk about more, Teen Titans Go, in 2013.
You know what? I expected to hate Teen Titans Go. I was in the angry camp of people who loved the original Teen Titans and were furious that this was the version we were getting, and oh, it's so childish, it's so stupid, you're ruining the original darkness and the badassness of the original show. And then I watched it, and guys, it's really funny. Like, I really enjoy it. Like, I don't watch it, religiously, but like sometimes I'll see a clip on YouTube and I'll laugh, or I'll see it on TV and watch it for a few minutes and I'll get a laugh out of it. It's got a really absurdist, fourth wall breaking, meta style of humor. It's not taking itself seriously. It's taking shots at itself all the time. It knows it's not the Teen Titans series you wanted, and it's very funny when it, tries to reach out to that fan base and make fun of both themselves for not knowing it's not quite the quality of the original series, while also making fun of the audience for demanding that they make it so. Like, it's the kind of show that it feels like very old school Cartoon Network in its style of humor, if not its appearance. That kind of throwing everything at the wall, seeing what sticks kind of humor. It's fun. It's definitely not for everyone. It's probably not really even for the fans of the original Teen Titans. If that's the kind of cartoon show you want, watch Young Justice. Don't watch Teen Titans Go. But it's a good comedy, and the movie is really funny. Like, the movie is surprisingly takes some really harsh shots at both DC and Marvel, and it's a lot of fun. So if you need a movie to watch, I would definitely recommend Teen Titans Go to the movies. That's it. That's all I have to say about it. I'm not. The thing about Teen Titans Go is that if you are determined to hate it, you will hate it. Like, you will. Nothing I say will make you like a show that has such a drastically different style than what you would want. So, if it's not for you, that's fine. But if you think that you might be interested in giving it a chance, I'd say give it a chance. That's my Teen Titans story.
And with that, we move on to Check It 3.0 and 3.5. They had a slight revamp in the middle. We have Mad, ending in 2013. The High Fructose Adventures of Annoying Orange, ending in 2014. Adventure Time regular show and Gumball, Go Strong. Looney Tunes Show ends in 2014. Ben 10 Omniverse ends in 2014. Johnny Test finally ends its run in 2014. Teen Titans Go, still going strong. Beware the...
They're never going to take Teen Titans Go off the air. It's like 90% of their programming block. It's their SpongeBob.
At this point, yeah. Beware the Batman premiered in 2013 and ends 4 months later. Wait.
And Beware the Batman.
3 months later.
That was a spooky show. I enjoyed it. By spooky, I mean it was a darker version of Batman, and I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Which is probably why it didn't last as long as other things.
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't even as good as just The Batman, which was on at some point in this run. I don't know. It's probably one of those assumed series that we didn't get a chance to chat about, but it was okay.
Uncle Grandpa premieres in 2013. I have seen only one thing related to Uncle Grandpa, and that was what we referenced earlier, the Steven Universe Uncle Grandpa crossover, which is not canon for Steven Universe. So I watched a few minutes and then skipped it.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the episode of Steven Universe that I've watched the least, because if I'm ever rewatching the series, I do not rewatch that episode. It seems to me I think I also saw like one episode of Uncle Grandpa at one point. It's just a bunch of wacky things that happen. I don't think there's a lot of really strong story or character involved. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It just seemed like a really unappealing show to me.
Yeah, we talked about that thing earlier. For us, animation style is a factor in whether we like something, and it again follows in those two other shows we were talking about earlier, where it uses a kind of creepy animation style. Like, I don't like how the characters look. It creeps me out.
Yeah, it doesn't look good to look at. It doesn't make me feel happy to see.
And I
So
feel like with a lot of things that have that kind of gross animation, there's also a factor of like cringe comedy inherent with it. And
yeah,
I cannot stand cringe comedy one bit.
this thing won an Emmy.
It won an Emmy.
They won in the 2014 Primetime Emmy Awards as Outstanding Individual in Animation. Nick Edwards for the episode Afraid of the Dark.
Well, I
All
guess
right,
we have to watch one episode now.
I guess. I mean, I think a lot of these, there's so many cartoons and we can only watch so many. A lot of it, we are kind of judging books by their cover, and we know that's unfair. So let us know if you think that we need to give this another try. I'm seeing Rob Renzetti was a director and a storyboard artist on. He would later go on to direct and do storyboard art for Gravity Falls. So, there's even some Pendleton Ward shorts involved in this. As I'm looking through, okay, maybe we've been too harsh.
Maybe we have. Maybe it's just that's the thing when you're talking about media of any type. It is not subjective usually, and we know. Wait,
Exactly.
sorry, it's not objective
Okay.
usually. We should know this. We went to film school and had to write papers on it, trying to do it from the objective viewpoint. All of media is subjective. Everyone has biases towards what media should look like, and to us, there's a form of animation we don't like.
Right.
And I will always be biased towards, I think, cell animation, harder to do, more fluid, natural feel. It has that kind of earthy feel. I like that. I like claymation. I grew up loving claymation. So when I see those shows that bring in those different touches, that's a bump up. Where if I see something with like Uncle Grandpa where it has like kind of this gross, boyish animation, and it's all computer animated, that's a knock, but that's a subjective viewpoint of mine. Anyone listening to anyone talk about media should go, that's what you think. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I really would hope that we see more variation in animation styles in the future, because I think things are moving more and more over to digital or over to CGI. And I would love to see some more traditional cell animation shows. I would love to see some stop motion shows. I don't know if I can't even think of a full stop motion animated TV series. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there is one that we just don't know about. But I think the technology is there. There's studios like Leica who do unbelievable work. Obviously, the quality has to go down for TV series versus a movie, but I don't know. I think that would be great. We're off track though, so why don't we go on? Unless are you looking up stop motion series?
Postman Pat
Oh, that doesn't count.
is
That is
the only one that came up.
Yeah, Postman Patton's Black and White Cat. I used to watch as a little kid. It's cute. It's like Rankin Bass kind of.
We had to go on this tangent to remind our audience of to not take our advice in or our feelings about cartoons to mean anything. We
Exactly.
are two idiots with film degrees, which makes us technically like knowledgeable in the field.
Yeah,
Technically
basically
knowledgeable.
dumb enough to have spent our college education on watching a whole bunch of movies. So take whatever we say with a grain of salt. Where are we? Where are we now? What other shows are coming
So
out?
the next premiere is Steven Universe, also in 2013, right after Uncle Grandpa.
We love Steven Universe.
We do.
Well, we shouldn't say too much right now because I'm sure we'll do an episode just about Steven Universe.
Oh, I think that's inevitable for us.
Movie. Yeah, we'll want to talk about that more. We both really love this series. It's really great. It has such wonderful LGBT representation. It really opened the floodgates for that kind of representation in TV. And
Yeah, I think we're getting to the era of LGBT representation, specifically in cartoons. Um, and one day we'll bring in one of our guest hosts, the queer correspondent, to talk about LGBT
queer
representation.
correspondent,
Hmm?
which queer correspondent seems to imply that the two of us are straight. Which is
Not in the case. But we need a third member to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, that way we can be queer as a three-person podcast.
Are podcasts queer just as a general thing?
Always have queer energy because
Okay.
we're not quite radio and we're not quite TV. Therefore, we are queer. But anyway, we won't go into too much about Steven Universe. Just it is a delightful show. It definitely sort of signaled the start to a new era, as Katie said, of both LGBT representation and also in a lot of stylistically where Cartoon Network was going. It is just a wonderful, wonderful series. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out.
It's a series that's great for kids and adults. So we're really in this core Cartoon Network age of definitely getting all of those series really coming out, which are for any audience of any gender, anybody, any human being can get something from it.
Absolutely.
Which I think is the core thing for Cartoon Network. Coming out of this mediocre era, two eras, to grasp onto and hold on to these like five, six, seven shows that premiered here, and take them into the future and go, be free. And then also keep working with that style, but Cartoon Network, of course, doesn't really like double up things. They like to try new things, but knowing we're good at this.
Absolutely. I think it was definitely where Cartoon Network realized they could have that co-viewing experience of shows that are appealing to kids on one level and then appeal to adults often on a different level, and that they could do that successfully. So kudos to Steven Universe there.
Yeah. Next we have Mixels premiering in 2014.
I haven't heard of that.
It was co-produced by the Lego Group.
Yep. Nope. I like
Series
Lego.
revolves around Mixels, small creatures that can mix and combine with another in creative and unpredictable storylines.
All right. Okay.
So it went along with the era of, this was when Lego was also premiering shows on Cartoon Network, so you have Lego Ninjago, a series we didn't talk about because it's not an original series by Cartoon Network. Note, we have missed a lot of those shows.
Yeah.
So there have been times like the original Teen Titans we didn't talk about. Good show. Do recommend the original one, for sure. I can't say anything about Teen Titans Go. Haven't watched it. Lego Ninjatsu, not Ninjatsu, Ninjago, can't recommend. Not good.
Yeah, I used to babysit some boys who were super into it, so.
Now, you might wonder, why did I say ninjatsu? Because it's Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. So I'm seeing that on my screen and going, Spinjitzu, ninja, wah. Combine them together.
All right.
So we have that happening in 2014. We also have the Tom and Jerry show, same area of the Looney Tunes show. I don't remember watching a lot of this. It moved to Boomerang in 2017, so I think it might still be going on then. It's unclear. Tom and Jerry's getting a new thing with HBO, aren't they?
They are. I think it's a movie.
I love Tom and Jerry dearly. Was probably my favorite of the core classic cartoons. And I think, again, because I saw it as the original cell animation, and I have a complete and utter bias towards cell animation, I didn't like the computer version.
Well, for a show as slapstick heavy as Tom and Jerry, the medium is really important. It's not, you can't rely on basically anything else but the animation to hold it up. So the fact that the animation was putting you off, certainly putting me off, I think that meant a lot. I think again that rougher style of cell animation, you can really do so much more. It looks so much funnier when the lines aren't as clean, and they can just have there's an absurdity to the violence that you're seeing when it doesn't feel so real. With modern animation, it feels too real, and you almost feel unpleasant watching it. Like in the same way that like you cringe watching someone get hurt on Steven Universe or Gravity Falls, you would cringe in Tom and Jerry. And Tom and Jerry stops being fun the second you believe that these people can get hurt.
Yeah.
then you're just a monster.
You can't tell me a character accordion like claps and like when they get hit with something like a giant hammer and they do the accordion wiggle, as I'm going to deem it. That's so much better in cell animation because no one's getting those lines right ever again. They are different every time, which makes it look more natural.
Wow.
And also more comedic and fantasy. Where in computer it's like, all right, Photoshop, move these two lines, this exact, line them up. it becomes too perfect.
Yep.
It's almost too unnatural in a weird way.
Yep. I could not agree more, Katie. Could not agree more.
So then our final show, premiering in 3.5, and therefore the final show we will talk about because 4.0 kind of hits that 2014 era of new Cartoon Network. And we kind of glanced into that a little bit tonight, but the last one is Clarence, which I believe is very similar in style to Uncle Grandpa, of like that.
Yeah.
I feel like the animation was a little looser, a little closer to like cell shaded style. Just trying to picture them in my head, but I remember like the cartoon styles feeling reminiscent of each other, which makes me think writers might have overlapped.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it did have a lot of similarities. I think also a lot of the Clarence writers went on to Steven Universe, which that's good for them. It's not like a few episodes. It's aimed at younger kids. I gotta say, I didn't remember finding it very funny. The animation style was a little off-putting, not quite as bad as Uncle Grandpa. Just kind of silly, just kind of random. I think if you were like a 7 or 8 year old kid, I think you probably would have enjoyed it. But I can't imagine it has a strong following.
Yeah, and it's a slice of life comedy adventure series that stars the main character as a fourth grader, happy-go-lucky adventurous boy. So it probably does fall more in that younger male audience where like you clearly have these divisions in Cartoon Network of there's the Adult Swim people. We're not talking about them. They can stay over there.
Right.
The teenagers, college students who can who can glean the more nuanced details out of the story, importantly. Then you have kind of the boy action films, more for middle schoolers, probably predominantly some younger high schoolers. Middle school young boys is the other main audience, I think. And that one mixes in with the adventure, but then you also have the comedy weird side. And I think we have a couple of those still trying to exist.
Yeah.
That is an important demographic for Cartoon Network to get to be able to survive against primarily Nickelodeon animation. Disney animation, to me, bar a couple shows, is much more early middle school, probably a little bit younger, just based on like Pixar is a big part of Disney animation that makes mostly films for children, all ages, but originally designed to be children. And I just think in general Disney skews a little bit younger. Whereas Cartoon Network, that's why Cartoon Network still has this middle-aged young boy kind of styles. It's probably they're like, we need to compete with SpongeBob.
Absolutely right. I would say that Disney is definitely definitely has its own demographic. It's a much more female demographic that they're probably never going to be able to fully crack open. So that would make sense why their main competitor with boys is absolutely Nickelodeon. I think a lot of boys think that Disney Channel is too girly for them, which I would hope that Disney is dissuading them more because there is so much good stuff on Disney.
I think the thing with Disney that at least clouds our mind to thinking it was in our generation certainly skewed towards a female audience. Was the live action stuff was certainly skewed towards women. Hannah Montana, Raven, all those shows certainly.
I mean, the live action shows on Disney Channel are still absolutely heavily skewed female.
Absolutely, and even when I think of Disney animated shows, I can't think of a ton.
Gravity Falls.
Well, that's what I think of, which Gravity Falls is not loved by Disney for several reasons, and we can we'll have an episode about that, and we'll talk about our time in Disney when certain people kept asking where the Gravity Falls merchandise is, the people in our group who worked for Disney.
I did spend $40 buying my own custom Gravity Falls ears from Etsy, but that is not what we're talking about now. We are wrapping up the Cartoon Network era 3. This is probably I think we can now safely say this was a darker period in Cartoon Network history.
We definitely see that Cartoon Network, if anything, kind of lost itself for a couple, like 5 to 8 years, where it wasn't sure what demographic it wanted for sure. And I feel like the executives, it's always the executives,
Executives.
felt pressured by Nickelodeon Disney's ability to have some animated shows and live action successfully. Whereas Cartoon Network previously didn't have any successful live action. And I think the executives were like, we need live action to be up there with them. And clearly, it did not work.
Right. That energy would have been much better spent on producing more shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and heck, even Teen Titans Go, although that is not a Cartoon Network Studios production.
Exactly. Well, it counts as, in this at least, it counts as Teen Titans Go is original Cartoon Network programming, unlike Teen Titans Original.
Oh.
The things we list are typically only Cartoon Network original programming.
No, nothing. I was under the impression that Teen Titans Go was made over at Warner Brothers.
Maybe. If anything, they might have a deal with Cartoon Network that it's exclusive to Cartoon Network.
Now that's probably the case.
So we definitely see Cartoon Network attempting to switch its demographic also during these two, and in this one still promoting that main demographic of boys, but also starting to escape from it. You have this group of Adventure Time starting to run really strong in this era. Steven Universe coming out, you had Gumball, Chowder, Flapjackle, kind of coming in and out of these 8 years. That I would say are pretty ideal shows to talk about to describe what Cartoon Network probably needs to mostly identify with, because they're their strongest ones and they bring great writers. All those shows, a very important thing. Great writing teams.
Absolutely. I think that goes for just everything, film, television, live action, animation. Just write well and you can make anything work.
And they have some, Cartoon Network is pretty good at retaining these writers through multiple shows.
Yeah.
Which I think you see more. And then you have really big producers, creators like Tartakovsky and others who stick with Cartoon Network. And Cartoon Network we will see in the next group of shows we talk about, is adventurous in what they're willing to try to do. And while that has resulted in many failures of shows, especially in this era, it's interesting that they kept going with it and being willing to put out some weird content. Like, there are some shows we'll talk about next time that just have weird subjects and weird comedy. It's just different.
Yeah, look, we always love to see it. We love to see Cartoon Network trying out the new styles, different things. So, we can't necessarily blame them for wanting to do things that are different, but I think it's good that we're entering this new era where things of higher quality, better writing, more deliberate storytelling is starting to happen.
And I think an important thing for Cartoon Network, one, they'll get into doing short series, which have worked pretty well for Cartoon Network.
It has worked great, and I hope they continue with it.
Where they're designed to be short. So since Cartoon Network at that point had a penchant for canceling things after one season, the writers went, we'll probably only get one season. Let's write for one season.
And there is nothing wrong with that at all.
But also Cartoon Network gave several shows long run times. Like, if a show is doing, it's okay, it might improve. They tend to keep running them. So we'll see that Cartoon Network plays out shows for a while. Unlike a different service known as Nickelodeon, who for some reason keeps removing good shows after a season.
Don't even start.
We'll get to Nickelodeon on a later date where we will talk very heavily about that.
We will. But for now, this has been the third episode of our look through on the Cartoon Network eras. And that means we have one more left as we finish up bringing us into the modern era. I'm really excited.
Our podcast is coming into the modern era because we're no longer just doing YouTube. This podcast is now available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, a bunch of other ones.
Yes, so
find that on Anchor FM.
If you are sick of watching us on YouTube and would like to just listen to us in your ears, because our scary faces are so off-putting to you.
Or you get annoyed that YouTube doesn't let you play videos when you close your phone unless you pay for their premium service.
Hate
You
that.
can also
Hate
use
that
it
so
this
much.
way.
In any case, yes, like Katie said, you can go to your favorite podcaster of choice, and we will be there probably. I don't know, unless you have some weird
Unless you
favorite.
have a couple other ones, but
Big ones. We got
find
the
a way to find a
big
way to
one.
contact us, like on Twitter, and I'll find a way to get it on that one for you.
Exactly. So thank you for listening. As always, I am Scarlett.
I'm Katie.
We're your animates, and we're gonna fire up the cartoon time machine, and we will see you next time in the present. Woo!